morning everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Sorry, good afternoon. Do apologise, it's been one of those days. Good afternoon everyone, my name is Crystal. Please do like, share and subscribe. It is Saturday afternoon. Alexa, what's the time please?
The time is 12:44 p.m.
I don't know. Just going with the flow. I have just been into the co-op to get my lunch. Rochester Riverside Co-op, just to get my lunch. And they didn't have any breakfast hot dogs. So I got a ham and cheese toastie. Co-op freshly prepared ham and cheese toastie. It is actually high in fat with saturates. It's high in salt, but it's low in carbohydrates. It's got fibre, protein. What is actually in it? If you're allergic to things, this contains wheat, soya, milk and mustard. So a Co-op freshly prepared ham and cheese toastie, which I'm going to have when I get off this video. And we have a caramel hot chocolate from the Costa Express. Ham and cheese toastie, and we've got some caramel hot chocolate from the Costa Coffee Express machine in the Co-op Rochester Riverside. Corey's Road, Rochester. So this is what a caramel large hot chocolate looks like. So I'm going to have that with my cheese and ham slice and see that where it goes. But I'm not going to eat much else with that because it is high in saturated fat. But I am hungry and I didn't eat all that much yesterday, so I'm just going to have a treat. And we have the Sun newspaper. It's back. By Bayern, Harry Kane finally sealed his 104 million move to German giants Bayern Munich yesterday after saying farewell to Spurs. Are the cracks beginning to show in Harry and Meghan's relationship? So that's the Sun this Saturday, £1.20. Remember that I was talking to someone ugly with glasses last night. So you open the page, the obligatory beautiful blonde, perfect figure in a bikini. Arabella Chi. I'm here for the older women, the women that don't feel all that. You can make yourself feel good, and people do still speak to older women. Meghan's finding freedom, but bitter Harry is stuck in the past. Yeah, but this is just the papers talking, is it the truth? And you know, you don't know, do you? I'm also remembering that someone asked for a picture of me last night and I was wearing this exact top, purple with flowers on it. Les Dennis in the newspaper. Les Dennis. Oh, I've got a tiny story to tell you about Les Dennis. My dad took me to Cliff, which is in Kent, place in Kent. It's alright, it's Les Dennis dressed up as Uncle Fester. Eye makeup and a bald head. There he is, Uncle Fester. And I was asked for my photo last night. Mine. And Uncle Fester's in the newspaper. So let me just, what is it about Les Dennis? Les Dennis has lost 3 stone and Strictly has put a real spring in his step. Oh, he's 70, Les Dennis. My mum is 77. Les Dennis's return to Saturday night TV and this year's Strictly Come Dancing makes a glorious comeback in more ways than one. What was we saying? Yes, my father Derek, when he was pretending that I was his wife and he called me Mrs. Trower when he booked me into caravan parks. I can just get it out of my system now because he's dead. I wasn't allowed to speak when he was alive because he would have thumped me. Or worse. So when my father took me to Cliff to go and buy a Monster Energy drink, white car, come van, which in the back had a place for a dog to sit in, a dog with grills at the back. The proprietor of the pub was called Les Dennis. Les Dennis, it was. It wasn't the Les Dennis, but it was a guy named after Les Dennis. So my father left my mum behind at Victoria Road and he took me, his daughter, out to Cliff on the bus to go and buy this Monster Energy drink white van. And he treated me like shit. And there was a black Labrador and a sandy Labrador. And my dad said to me, can you just go away? Because he was obviously signing for this car and I was in the way, I was being nosy. I used to take photographs and he told me not to. He was like, it was very suspicious because he used to get really angry when I took photographs of where we were. And when I stood up for myself, he used to get even angrier. Shut up, he'd say. Shut up. When I used to defend myself and stand up for myself, especially in Tesco's. Because for some reason, Dad always liked to go and buy shopping in either Tesco's or Asda or Morrison's before he took me to these places, supermarkets. And these supermarkets knew who my mother was. Of course they did, because before I came to Kent, my mother used to go out with my dad. And I was living in Gloucester. So he's signing a contract for this Monster Energy drink car, right? And he tells me to just stand out the way. So I'm just completely ignored by pub staff. And I've got 2 black dogs sniffing my bottom, 2 Labradors sniffing my bottom. But I just play with the dogs. I'm just there and these dogs are sniffing and sniffing my backside. And my dad's, because my mum used to have arguments with my father and he used to dump my mother. And I thought, I'm not having an argument with my dad because Cliff is a long way from Chatham. Cliff is, when I first came down, my dad actually dumped my mother in Tesco's. He left her in there and she was crying. Just left her in Tesco's and she was crying. All the staff were pretending she didn't exist. And I said, Mum, just let's get a taxi, let's go home. and she was in a terrible state because my dad was just dumping my mother and buggering off and leaving her. And of course, when my mum stayed at home, he started doing it to me. He started dumping me in places like he'd done to his wife. So my mum took a back seat, stayed at Victoria Road, while my dad was treating me like a fucking piece of shit. So I took over her role, didn't I? Jennifer was the one that Derek dumped, that Derek abused in the streets and in cars and threw her out of her moving car. So she took a back seat and I took her place. That's what they did to me. That's what they did. They're still trying to make out I'm Jennifer now, sticking shit out their back jean pockets to cover up what they've done. So Dad and I returned home to Victoria Road in this huge monstrosity, a white van with Monster energy drink in green all over it. It was a youngster's car and he was driving this young person's car. A few weeks later, my mother sat in the passenger seat of this Monster energy drink car with my father Derek driving, and they stuck me in the dog part at the back because there was no back seat. So I was sat, squashed into a dog area. That's how I was treated. So it was I'm glad my mum had a break from Derek, but he started doing what he was doing to his wife, to me. Abusing and doing things to me. And being thrown out of a moving car is dangerous. And the police had been called several times to the violence obviously my father was inflicting on my mother, and he then was doing it to me, and we always had onlookers laughing, people laughing, thinking what Derek was doing was funny. Neighbours, people outside, people in parks when he used to hit my mum with cider bottles. No one called the police, no one. I don't expect people to interfere and intervene because a dangerous, violent man could attack them as well. But it doesn't do any harm just to go into the background to call the police if a woman is being attacked in a park or in a street. Why do some people think it's funny to stare and laugh at a man hitting a woman? I've got no idea. If it was done to their mum or their grand, they surely wouldn't like it and they would do something. But when it's happening to someone else, I think some people think it's funny. And those that turn blind eye are just as bad as the perpetrator that's hitting the woman. I can't watch cruelty. I can't watch someone being cruel to somebody. I can't. Right, Les Dennis at Cliff. Don't know if he still owns the pub. I think there's one pub at the end of the journey on the bus to Cliff. I don't know if Les Dennis still is there. But my dad used to treat his wife like a piece of dog turd. He used to call her names, shout at her and kick her up the bottom. And you don't treat a human being like that. Not if you're normal anyway. So I've gone to the co-op, I've got my receipts, and I'm Crystal, who was Genestra, and I was in the co-op on the 12th of August at 12:19 in the afternoon, by myself, single woman. I thought I'd try these bazooka mix-ups, chewy candy with gel or powder. Bazooka mix-ups, there's strawberry, lemon, watermelon, apple, raspberry and sour cherry. Different. I can't find my jelly babies. My My jelly babies have gone. They haven't replaced my jelly babies. We have some thin sliced honey roast ham and some thin sliced chicken. We have some sour cream and onion Pringles, Jaffa cakes, McVitie's, and while these are reduced by 40 pence, we've got strawberry and yuzu. I can go up to £1.10 each, but I'm not paying £1.50 or £1.75 for a small bottle of milk flavour. Banana milk, strawberry milk flavour. I'm not paying over £1.10 for those. So, there was an old lady in the co-op with no teeth. You know, you could take it that it was a funny version of Charlie. And she was going around the shop asking me if there was any tinned beetroot. And I haven't seen tinned beetroot in ages, but they must do it. Tinned beetroot. Fresh beetroot. And it stains everything red, doesn't it? So she was looking for some beetroot. And obviously beetroot stains things red. I said, I haven't seen any tinned beetroot. I know where the fresh beetroot is. So Kim came over and helped the old lady who she didn't have any false teeth in. And the guy I met called Charlie, he doesn't wear false teeth either. He just got no false teeth. He doesn't wear dentures. And that was that. A lot of builders in the shop. And I get an old lady come up to me asking me where the beetroot is. And I'm not Charlie, am I? What I mean by that is, I'm not an old man with no teeth. So I've spoken to two lovely ladies today. The day started off right where I had a dog licking my leg. I've still got the scratch there. I'm not angry anymore. Sometimes you have to, you let your anger out, otherwise it builds up and it makes you ill. So I've vented. We all have to have a little yell and a vent, otherwise we get eaten up inside and we start getting ill. So I've let it out, and it's somebody's funny sense of humour, and it's not funny to me. It's very hurtful, it's very spiteful, and it's very nasty. And I would love to meet this. They must be so beautiful, so pretty, they must be absolutely flawless to take the piss out of me. I would like to meet them and shake them by the hand. I like a sense of humour, but I don't like a sense of humour which takes the piss out of the disabled, out of someone's gender or someone's colour. That's hate crime, and it's not very nice. There are people out there that have got cancer. Cancer! And we are talking to the Sun newspaper, specifically. Asking for pictures of me. And they put Uncle Fester in the newspaper. In fact, they're taking the mickey out of my mother Jennifer, the Sun newspaper is. So they, what happened to the news of the world, guys? It's about time the Sun was gone through. are at an age where, you know, we should be teaching our children and our future generation how to save the planet, how to be nice, not how to ruin the planet and bring the world, the end of the world, nearer than it should be, because that's what's happening. They're teaching people to be shallow. Nobody's perfect. A lot of the pictures in the sun are photoshopped and airbrushed, because if you look at a celebrity close up and to what goes in magazines and newspapers, you will fucking have a shock. When they go on telly, they are full of makeup and their hair's done. We are teaching, we're not helping our younger generation. We're not helping them at all. I'm going to get on with the rest of my day. I'm going to have my lovely cheese and ham toasty. I'm going to have my hot chocolate. And remember that bullying doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. Because, you know, bullies have something wrong with them, right? And somebody is trying to bash me to give them photographs. And I do get the Sun newspaper afterwards, as I did when Craig Johnson came to Lansdowne Court, the Sun newspaper. And what Craig Johnson did to me was disgusting. And in fact, it's my mum that was mistreated and abused by my father, Derek, long before I came back to Chatham in 2008. And obviously living with my father has turned my mum like that. That's what happens when you're domestically abused. Sun newspaper. And I'm sure the Sun newspaper has done many pieces on domestic violence. You shouldn't show the woman up for being the victim. You should show the perpetrator up. Sun newspaper. See you later.